I have a short announcement for you about something that's coming to the History Unplugged podcast in April. April is a lot of things. It is the anniversary month of the maiden voyage and sinking of the RMS Titanic. The Titanic launched on April 10th, 1912, and sunk on April 15th, 1912. The Titanic is a topic that I get a lot of listener questions about, and the site that I edit, History on the Net, has articles about it that get a lot of traffic. So it's a topic of enduring interest, probably spiked by the 1997 movie, which, if you were around then, the movie Titanic was absolutely omnipresent. You could not go anywhere without Celine Dion's sound haunting you. The Titanic was one of the biggest disasters in history, with over 1,500 passengers and crew dying, but it also happened at an important turning point in human history. 1912 was at the end of what some historians call the long 19th century, from the French Revolution up to World War I. The long 19th century is a period marked by many things. It's a period where humans believed in the inevitable march of progress with an optimism that technology and human ethics and everything else was absolutely flourishing, and we were moving into a golden age of humanity. It was also a breakdown of the aristocracy and the class system of the medieval and early modern periods. But even though democracy was flourishing across the world, there was still not a complete breakdown in this order, and you still see aristocracy, you still see old, proud family lines. You see this on the Titanic itself, where there are sharp divisions between classes, there are wealthy families that are present, and so this old aristocratic order hasn't disappeared yet. And some of the greatest families of the aristocracy are present on the Titanic, and so this event happens at this great transitional period in history. Anyway, all that to say, I'm going to be doing a multi-part series on the Titanic itself, and this series will last through much of April, and I'm going to be partnering with author Veronica Hincke, who just wrote a book called Last Night on the Titanic. And what we're going to be doing is looking at individual accounts of tragedy and survival from figures that made up the passengers and crew of the ship. These include millionaires, artists, fashionistas, bakers, cookers, musicians, doctors, and con men. And something that Veronica has done to try to recreate the experience of what it was like to be on the Titanic in the last few hours before disaster struck and everybody believed that the ship would safely make port in the United States was go into detail of the food and drink consumed on the ship, from tripe soup eaten by third-class passengers to the fancy dessert eaten by an Edwardian lady, just to get a sense of what this cultural moment was actually like if you were there. And then we go into the disaster account and we look at people who bravely tried to save the lives of others, like the unsinkable Molly Brown. We look at millionaires like John Jacob Astor. We look at con men who are there, who are trying to get into the wills of wealthy widows. And so this multi-part series is another thing I'm trying to do on this podcast. Sometimes I have a topic like the Titanic that I think deserves more than just one episode, whether with myself or with an author, and I want to spend a few more episodes really drilling into it. This series is part of that effort to spend a few episodes delving into a topic that I think merits that level of attention. So that's all for now, so I hope you enjoy this series. It's coming out next week on The Last Night on the Titanic.